All right, Raider Nation, what I want you to do is comment your Julio Jones trade ideas below. Coming up here on the Raiders Report, we're going to be breaking down 10 players that I believe the Raiders could trade away if they want to go ahead and get Julio Jones. The reason why I'm asking y'all to do this is because I'm a believer. It's going to take a second-round pick and then maybe a player, maybe two, to go ahead and get the star receiver from the Atlanta Falcons. So before I give you some players I think they could trade away, comment your Julio Jones trade ideas. No matter the location, from OAKLA to LV, I'm a Raider. Coming up here on the Raiders Report, we're breaking down 10 players the Raiders could trade away for Julio Jones. The first guy I'm bringing up here, it's Karl Nassib. And if traded, the Raiders can save $3.75 million in 2021. The reason why he's the first guy on here is because he's the dude that I want to be traded the most. Now, when you look at Nassib's stats last season, not very good. However, he did play the second most snaps among all defensive ends for the Raiders last season with 464, behind only Max Crosby. One of the biggest needs for Atlanta, and why I believe that it would make sense for them, they need an edge rusher. Karl Nassib has, well, some success in that division in the NFC South from his time back with the Buccaneers. However, the issue here is, are you going to trade for Nassib where you have to pay him money this year, but you're also going to have to pay him about $8 million next season? That's what makes it a little difficult. So if you do want to include Nassib, you might have to actually include a first-round pick. Let's go to the next player here, and not probably going to be very popular, but I'm going to throw out the name Damon Arnette. Damon's a good player. He's just never going to live up to that first-round pick hype. So if you're telling me right now Arnette is a guy who's always arguing with Raiders people on social media, let's just get him out of the locker room. Let's give him a fresh, clean start where he can be an opposite corner next to A.J. Terrell. And plus, if you're telling me right now, Damon, does he have a better chance of starting with the Atlanta Falcons or a better chance of starting with the Raiders? It is clearly Atlanta. So if I can get more draft capital and almost sell high on him right now, that's the route I am going to go, and I'm going to move him on. So it's like Damon, maybe a second-round pick. If you want, you might be able to convince me a third-round pick in Arnette. However, I don't believe that's going to be enough to go out and get Julio Jones. So be honest with me here. Like, the video is all about going out and getting Julio. Do you even want this guy to be a Raider? Type Y for yes, type N for no. The Raiders Report is about giving the nation a voice. Now's your chance. Go down in the comments, Y for yes, or type N for no. The next player up here on the Raiders Report, Amik Robertson, and it pains me to even put him on here because this is one of those dudes that I want him to work out so bad for this team. But if you can save $780K, not a lot of money, but I got to be able to include it anyway. Bradley has gone out and said that he likes Robertson as an outside corner. I'm a believer, okay, that a lot of times when you see certain reports out there, it's almost to boost up certain players' trade value. I'm not saying that that's the reason why it happened, but I am starting to feel like Robertson could be a player included in a trade. When he first came out of Louisiana Tech, man, I was like, he's got a lot of good numbers, 14 interceptions in 3 years, but I valued him probably a little bit more as a slot corner. If the Raiders went out and got a guy like Marcell Douglas, Casey Hayward, I'm having a hard time to figure out where Robertson's going to play on the field. And if I'm Robertson and I'm like, hey, I could potentially go to Atlanta where I'm going to play a lot more, it could be an opportunity for him. The next player coming up here in terms of trading away a dude to go out and get Julio Jones, it's Jalen Richard. Richard is another player where I like him a lot. He's exactly what you're looking for in terms of a Raider, working his butt off. He's a good pass-catching running back. However, if you can trade him, you save the full 3.5. If you cut Jalen, you save only 2.38, and you have to pay some of that dead cap. So trading him away is important. Richard would be the second best running back in Atlanta behind only Mike Davis. So if they're looking for a pass-catching dude, it's exactly what you're getting in Richard. He's 27 years old. He's the third running back on this team. And if I'm sitting here saying, okay, Jalen, you throw in maybe a fifth-round pick and a second-round pick, is that enough to get Julio? I personally believe it is. The issue, though, with Jalen is that contract. But if you're telling me right now Atlanta wants him, I would ship him away. Raider Nation, if you guys are looking for an interactive YouTube channel, look no further than the Las Vegas Raiders Report. We are the #1 most watched Raiders channel on YouTube because of the chemistry and the interaction that we've been able to build over the last almost 3 seasons now. So if you find yourself looking for daily videos while you're sitting watching, while you're eating dinner, while you're dropping a number 2, we got you covered here, youtube.com/Raiders Report. Now, the reason why I'm looking for more subs is simple. Here at Chat Sports, we are just like most companies. The more subscribers you get, the more airtime you get. And over the past 28 days, the Raiders Report is ranked 4th among all team YouTube channels here. You got Bears, Cowboys, 49ers. Those 3 shows are kicking my butt. And we're actually about to get passed by Seahawks today, and we might even get passed by Dolphins today. I don't want to be 6th on that list. We have 3 studios here at Chat Sports. We need to get back into the top 3. That way I can continue to make daily videos, because I'm just being honest with y'all. If I keep falling down the list, I'm not going to get airtime. And what does that mean? Less videos for y'all. So if you still want daily videos around your Raiders, I need you to go ahead and subscribe. Tanner Muse, next player up here on guys that I would get rid of to go out and get Julio Jones. This is another dude that, man, I like him a lot. And he is a great special teams player, but another guy that I just don't know is ever going to live up to the hype and play linebacker. Plus, the Raiders, they told me everything I needed to know about Muse when they went out and drafted Divine Diablo in round 3. Diablo is going to take the place of Tanner Muse. And if you're telling me right now I can sell high on Muse, who still technically hasn't played yet because of his injury, that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And for Atlanta, you need linebacking depth. You need secondary depth. So you get that, and at any time you can go out and find a solid special teams player, you absolutely do that. He's got some family connections also in that area. Muse is a fun player, and he's a player that I know a lot of people would like to see pan out. However, I'm trying to do the best for this team, and if it wasn't for his high draft capital, I don't even know if he'd make the roster. So you trade Tanner Muse to the Atlanta Falcons for Julio Jones and probably sprinkle in a second-round pick. All right, y'all, if you guys haven't already, please go ahead and download the Newsbreak app. How do you do that? You got to go to chatsports.com/RaidersNB. Once you go ahead and download the free app, you search Raiders Report, and literally in like the top right corner with the magnifying glass, and then you follow the Raiders Report. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because just like the subscriber thing I was talking about, we're getting our butts kicked by the Cowboys Report, and I need to be able to catch up to them as well. But if you find yourself looking for local news and weather, you can get it there. Politics, food, pop culture, you can get it on the Newsbreak app. Extra sports content and exclusive videos from the Raiders Report can all be found at chatsports.com/RaidersNB. So I'm going to put that link in the comments and in the description. Don't let me down. Plus, make sure you guys are just staying up to date on everything going on in your city, because it doesn't matter if you live in Las Vegas, Chicago, zip code, doesn't matter. The app, it can work for you. Kendal Vickers, next guy up here on the Raiders Report. If traded, the Raiders will save $780K. He would get a lot more playing time in Atlanta. Whether they're going to put him at defensive end, whether they're going to put him at DT, he's going to get some extra reps. Since the video has come out of him deadlifting 1,000 pounds, his name has gotten a little bit more popular. However, he was a dude that a lot of people did not expect him to make the final 53-man roster for the Raiders last season. But one of the biggest reasons why I think this team decided to move on from David Irving is because Vickers has showed all the right things and continues to work his butt off. But if you're Atlanta and you're like, okay, how can I find an under-the-radar type of player that I believe could help bolster my defensive line? He is absolutely that player. So if you're telling me right now it could be Kendal Vickers, maybe a 5th-round pick and a 2nd-rounder, something to think about. Vickers, you throw in somebody like Jalen Richard and a 2nd-round pick, that could be enough. The bottom line is this. I got a lot of players that are on this fringe 53-man roster for the Raiders, and if I can flip those guys in a trade to go out and get Julio Jones, that's what I'm really trying to do. So I think it's funny. Anytime I bring up Julio, he obviously wears number 11. But Henry Ruggs wears number 11. And I always find it funny where people are like, oh, the Raiders aren't going to trade for Julio Jones because he's not going to wear number 11. Let's just get one thing straight. Players don't decide where they're going to go based on number. I'm just going to spoil that right now. However, if the Raiders do go out and trade for Julio Jones, what number do you think he's going to wear? He wore number 8 in college, but that's owned by Marcus Mariota. Would Mariota give 8 up for Julio? Maybe. Would Ruggs give up 11 for Julio? Maybe. I don't know. So I need you to solve this for me. What number will Julio Jones wear if he becomes a Raider? We're going to stick here in the secondary. I got Karl Joseph next up. And if traded, you're saving $850K. Karl Joseph is a better safety than Eric Harris. I think we would all agree on that, right? Eric Harris is slotted in right now as the starting strong safety for Atlanta. And if you can upgrade in the secondary, that's absolutely something that they need to do. I mean, they lost Keon O'Neal, which is really going to hurt. And we know what Eric Harris is. He's a good run stopper. He's a good special teams player. Karl Joseph is an upgrade. So if Atlanta can go out and get somebody like Joseph, who last season had 67 tackles, a pick, and 4 pass breakups, this would be a player that I really wouldn't want the Raiders to give up on. But if it meant getting Julio Jones, you go ahead and you do it. So now the next guy we're going to be getting in here on the Las Vegas Raiders Report is another player in the secondary. It's Keisean Nixon, saving again $850K. Nixon would make the Falcons' 53-man roster. So again, when you're talking about secondary play, it's tough to figure out whether or not he's going to make the team. And when I did my 53-man roster projection, I didn't have Nixon making it. He's only a practice squad player. So if you have a fringe player who you don't know if it's going to make your 53-man, if you can throw him in a trade, it makes a lot of sense. And if you're looking for an inside or outside cornerback, at least that's what Atlanta's going to be looking for, maybe it's Nixon. However, I would pitch Nixon probably before Amik Robertson, because I would rather have Robertson on the team than him. But if Robertson is, let's say they don't want him for whatever reason, maybe you can pitch Nixon, who played his college football in South Carolina. If you guys haven't already, hit me up on IG. I'm at MitchellRenz365. I'm always posting the latest Raiders news and rumors on my stories. I also go live maybe like once a month. Once the offseason starts, though, we'll be doing a lot more stuff as well. So, and if you haven't seen, I posted something about Julio Jones getting traded to the Raiders if it happens. 11 beers in 6 minutes. 4 Chucky heads. Believe it, baby. All right, we got 2 more receivers to get into on players I would trade away for Julio Jones. Marcell Ateman has been a very, very popular name for whatever reason coming up in these Julio Jones trade rumors. Ateman, I actually believe, would make the Falcons' 53-man roster if they decide to move on from him, because they still need to be able to find an outside guy. Do I think Ateman would start? No, but he would be a top 6 receiver on that team, because it's Calvin Ridley, it's Russell Gage. They went out and drafted Kyle Pitts. They have Hayden Hurst, but those 2 guys play tight end. They still need some extra depth. So Marcell Ateman could be an option. Another player to keep in mind at the wide receiver position, and the reason why I'm bringing him up, this was the player that Vic Tafur ended up bringing up in his trade idea for Julio Jones. It's Keelan Doss. So if Atlanta wants to be able to get a receiver in return for a Julio trade, I'm a believer that you throw in one of those 2 guys, Keelan Doss and Marcell Ateman. I don't want to trade away Henry Ruggs. I don't want to trade away Bryan Edwards. And if they're asking for those 2 dudes, I don't even know if I'm going to want to give up a second-round pick, because if I'm giving up Henry Ruggs, it should be Henry Ruggs, Julio Jones straight up. And I don't really think that's the route they're going to go. If it's Bryan Edwards, I don't really want to give up a second-round pick, because I'm a believer, and Mike Mayock's a believer, that Bryan Edwards can be a true number 1 receiver. So if you're going to trade a receiver, it's either Keelan Doss or Marcell Ateman. So be honest with me here. I want you guys to name a player that the Raiders should trade for Julio Jones. The reason why I wanted to be able to make this video is because we always do trade ideas on this show, and to give you guys an idea of who are some of the dudes that I would try to include in a deal, that's why I ended up making this video. If you don't like the 10 players I mentioned, here's your chance. Go down in the comments and let me know. So one more time, the 10 players that I'm giving up, if it means to go out and get Julio Jones to give up a second-round pick, maybe a third-round pick, are the guys on screen. If you made it this far in the vid, that means we're doing something right around here in the Raiders Report. Go ahead and like the video. It helps us out a ton. It's a free way to show everyone here at the Raiders Report, here at Chat Sports, that guess what? We're doing a halfway decent job.